Hi all, this is Maria Clark at Sweet Willow Designs and welcome to my studio. Today's project is a faux leather faux rivet pendant. Let's get started. The full tools and materials list is down in the description, so take a look at that. But what I have here is a piece of orange clay, and I just mixed a little bit of red and yellow to get an orange color, kind of trying to simulate coral a little bit. And I have my embossing folder. This sheet of clay is rolled out to the number 2 setting, and I'm using my rod to just emboss that deeply. And to make this particular pendant, we're going to need 3 sizes of cutters. As you can see here, I happen to have a graduated set, so I'm using the middle size for the actual cabochon, and just seeing what part of the design I like. Go ahead and cut that. I'm not beveling it by using the plastic wrap because this is going to go under the faux leather bezel. So I'll pull that up and I'll get that on a light bulb and I'll get that in the oven for 20 minutes. Be sure you tent it. And while that's curing, I've got a piece of bronze colored clay. You could use burnt umber or another brown. And I'm using the largest cutter with a plastic wrap so I get a bevel to the edge. And then I'm going to cut out the smallest size, so you can see I'm getting a bezel here, a frame that I'm going to use to go around the center cabochon. And I'm just cutting that piece out, and then I will just refine with my fingers any rough edges. Okay, the piece is out of the oven and cooled. I'll just take it off the light bulb. And I'll be working on a tile because I want the tension of the clay sticking to the tile. So I'm taking that bezel that I created and I'm going to start to stretch it. My cutters aren't exactly the size that are needed for this, so I'm going to stretch the clay a little bit and I'll have to do a little bit of manipulation. But what I'm going for is the center cabochon. I just want a little bit of that clay forming a bezel to hold it into the piece. So I'll continue to stretch it, just being a little bit careful that I don't mar the design. And once I think I'm getting it to where I want it, I'll start to tack it to the tile, and that's giving me a little bit of tension to work with. And I'll just continue to manipulate that. You can see it's looking pretty misshapen, but I'll keep working on it so that I get that bezel framing the center cabochon nicely. One of the things I like about this project is you could use any colors of clay you wanted. You can go as far as you want with putting a patina on it. The sky's the limit with this. It's really simple, but it has lots of neat ways you can create this. So I'm continuing to refine it, stretching the clay a little bit as I need to, making it as even as I can. It won't be perfect, but it'll be pretty good. And I'll just keep manipulating that clay. Okay. Oh, a little bit more maybe. Now I'm tacking it down to the tile. And I'm just kind of looking at it. It's a little bit uneven, so I'm going to put my bail at the top there where you can see that it's slightly uneven. And I'm taking my blade and just running it around the edge to straighten it up and make it a little bit more even circle. Kind of perfecting the round shape. Okay. And now I am using my marking template that I created, and I'll put that in the link to this template in the iCard if you want to make one, but I found it really handy to make these equidistant points around a circle. So I'm just lightly marking these points because that's where my faux rivets will go. I'm not going all the way through the clay, I'm just lightly marking them so I know where to drill. You could actually make the holes here, but I prefer to drill after the fact. It's just whatever your preference is. Now that I've got that bezel set, I'm going to get that in the oven for 20 minutes at the manufacturer's temperature. Okay, the piece is out and I've got my drill. And I'm going to drill at each one of those marks that I made. And I'll just drill all the way around, making sure that it's going through. I think when you drill, you get a little bit nicer hole and you don't run the risk of misshaping your piece. So I like to use the drill after the clay is cured. It drills easily. Now I'm just refining the back to make sure that those holes are nice. And finish up the last one. Now for the faux rivets, I'm going to use these little brads. These are from the scrapbooking section and I have a whole variety of them. So I'm going to pull out some colors and try out some colors and see what might work. What I'm doing now is just deciding where the top of the pendant will be, where the bail is going to go, and that's where it'll be, where I just put my thumb. And now I'm just going to try out some different colors of these brads, these faux rivets, and see what I like. So I've got a kind of a green one and a blue. They're bright right now, but when you put the patina on them, they tend to tone down. So there's a copper one and a sort of, I don't know, antique gold, bright gold, and black. And I'll just see what I like. Now I'm using a gold bail and jump ring. So it matches that color. I don't have to match them, but I think for the look I'm going for, I'm going to match that. So there you go. And I'll go ahead and put my faux rivets around. So I'll go ahead and place them all in. You could do these one at a time. Actually, it kind of fell out when I turned it over, so next time I'll do it one at a time. At any rate, open up those brads so that they're grabbing onto the clay. And I'll just do that with each one of them. I'm really just kind of doing a quick pass at opening those up because they don't open. Just using my hands isn't good enough. I need to use a little metal tool. This could be the end of your craft knife or something to really make sure that they're seated in there well and that those little brads are open as much as they can be. And now I'll just position them. And just go around and make sure that I have them open and that they're pretty sturdy. Now I'm going to make the snake of clay because you can see where the bezel and the cabochon, center cabochon meet. There's a valley there. There's like a dip, and I want to have a more flush finished edge. When I put the backing on, that would not. It won't work great to have that valley there. So I'm using this Genesis thick medium extender. I like this because it's a gel. Some of the liquid clays are a little bit too liquid. So it's just my preference to use something like this, and it's a really strong bond. So I'll go ahead and apply that, and then I'll just put that snake of clay in that valley there and use my fingers to push it in so it's filling that gap. And I'll just go all the way around filling that gap, pushing it in pretty deep. If I needed to add more clay, I would. This seems to be working out pretty good. Pull off the excess and just make sure it's in there. And then I will take my craft knife and clean it up so that I have a flat, smooth surface. There we go. Smooth it out a little bit, make sure I don't have any stray bits of clay. And here's the backing piece. Now, I'm using a larger cutter than the actual pendant piece. So I'll make sure that it goes all the way out through the edge. And I'm putting some of that Genesis medium on because I'll be doing raw to baked. And get that all on there. And then I will apply my backing sheet. And then I'm just smoothing it from the center out to make sure that I don't have any air bubbles trapped and that it's well adhered. There's good contact between the raw and the baked clay. And making sure that there's no gaps at the edge. Now I'm going to take my blade at a 45-degree angle and just trim it up, make it look a little bit neater. And make sure I don't have any stray bits. And then I'll take that same texture sheet and just go around the edges and smooth that out. And you get a really nice finished look. I think it's just as important to finish the back as the front, and that way you get a nice professional look and you're proud of the piece. I'm going to take my needle tool and just open it up through that raw clay so I don't have to drill it again. There, that looks good. I'll get that on a tile, on a card, piece of card on the tile, because I do not want to have any shiny spots from it, the clay touching the glass or a tile. I'll get that in the oven, and this time for 60 minutes. So this particular pendant has 3 bakings, and that's the last baking. And now I've got it out of the oven. You could leave it just like this, add your findings, and you're good to go. I always, as you know, like to distress stuff, so I'm going to use some of this Deco Arts Burnt Umber paint. Just acrylic paint. You could use any acrylic paint that you like. And I'm going to highlight it so that I can see that texture, and that I can get some shadows, and it makes it look a little bit old and rustic. I'll get that paint in there with my fingers. And I decided that I needed a brush to help me make sure that it was really in the crevices and around the faux rivets. So you'd have a really nice shadow effect. And I think I've got that pretty well in place. Now I have a lightly damp paper towel, and I'm just going to start removing the paint. You can remove as much as you like or as little as you like. You know, the other thing about this is you could use any color of paint that you wanted. This would be really nice with a turquoise paint, or maybe a blend of turquoise and green and rust color to give it that old world patina, kind of a rusty look, or a patina. And just continue to take off as much as you like, and you can see how well it's starting to highlight the pattern. That looks good. Just keep taking off as much as you like. And then I will use this paper towel to buff it up and give it a soft sheen. You could use a piece of denim or felt. I think the paper towel works just as nice because I'm going for just a soft sheen, not a gloss. And you could use an acrylic finish. I like to use a Varathane matte finish, and that way you wouldn't get a shine. Or you could use gloss if you like the glossy look. Alright, now I've got this jump ring. You could just use a jump ring to connect it, but I've got a jump ring and this little bail. I just like the extra interest that it added. And just checking to make sure I've got the front side facing, and this one happens to have the same pattern on both sides, which is good. And I'll close up that jump ring. And there's the finished pendant. You could use any kind of stringing material that you like. I happen to find this thick wrapped cord. I think it's a rayon wrap actually. The findings are silver, and I don't really like that. I really do want it to match the gold tone. So what I will do is take some butterscotch alcohol ink and apply it to those end caps and to the chain, and then I'll get a sort of a gold look, and I will have to put a little bit of finish on that, some of that matte varathane. Well, here's the finished piece. I think it turned out really nicely, and here's a sort of a glamour shot of it. A close-up. And the final close-up. I love this project. I hope you would enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me in my studio. If you enjoyed this project, please consider subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, or leaving me a comment. I really enjoy hearing from you. Thanks so much for joining me in my studio. Take care.